Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Mental Health Mondays. I'm your host, Kelli Smith, coming to you from a conscious mind. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button before we begin. Now, I know I didn't post anything last week, but I've had a lot going on and it's just been like great stuff that has been happening for the conscious mind. So kept me busy, but I'm back in action, ready to go. So no worksheets today. I'm standing up because I'm kind of like moving around. Fancy shirt, right? Okay. Let's talk today about decision making and how anxiety affects your decisions. Okay. So first of all, I've gone over the definition of anxiety, right? It's an immense fear that occurs that can cause changes in your brain functioning, your physical health, can lead to phobias and different things like that. It's like just something that kind of takes over your body. Everyone has anxiety, but the level or the extent to how much the anxiety impacts your daily life changes or is different for each person, okay? So we've got that out the way. Definition of anxiety. Now, I want you also to know about how decision making is affected by anxiety. So let's say I'm going to use my blanket right here, okay? Let's say I'm in the store and I'm already like overwhelmed, I'm stressed, I've got like a lot of things like playing over and over again in my mind, okay? So now I am in the bedding department. I need a new throw for the living room, okay? I know I want something that's soft, that's warm, that's inviting, but there's a lot of selections, okay? So now y'all seen what the aisles look like. You've got about 5 or 6 rows from floor to maybe not necessarily ceiling, but you get the point. Where it's a bunch. Well, okay, I see a color I like, gray. But it's more than just this one. They've got about 2 rows of different kinds of gray, okay? So for some people where anxiety is like really high for them and making decisions is hard, that anxiety will go from maybe here, maybe about a 3, okay? We're doing a scale of 0 to 10. And it might shoot up to an 8 to where they're walking, back and forth on the aisle, or they're picking up one, putting it down, picking up another, putting it down, different things like that. So then it's hard for them to make that decision. Impulse kicks in. We go into that fight or flight, and it's just like, let me just grab them, okay? But then what happens when they get home? Well, I get home, I take it out of the packaging. I don't like it. So now that guilt or that remorse kicks in, that buyer's remorse, okay? And now it's like stress. I still need a throw cover. I don't like the one I have. Maybe I should just keep it because I really don't want to go back to the store and have to pick something else. Or maybe I'll look online and find something, but there's just too many selections online. It's too many pages. And if you're avid Amazon shopping like I am, not a plug, if you search for one thing, like a gray throw like this, you're going to get a couple of pages worth. And for someone with a lot of anxiety, having a hard time making a decision, narrowing that down can take hours for them. And what's worse is when you have people around you, family, friends, coworkers, supervisor, whoever, that are on you to make that deadline, hit that mark. So then it's like, instead of being able to have the space to look through all of these throws and figure out exactly which one I want, I now have 5 seconds to hurry up and grab a throw. And then I have to deal with my decision later, okay? So anxiety can affect our decisions in a sense that it causes us to act impulsively or shut down completely, okay? Because let's say that same person, instead of picking up that throw and just buying it, okay? Let's just say they don't make a decision at all. They come home and then there's no throw at all. Now we've got that same feeling, but it's not the buyer's remorse, it's the opposite. Now I have remorse where I feel sad or I'm beating myself up because I could not make a decision. So now that train of thoughts that was once racing about making a decision, a new train's coming, and it's now replaying the thoughts of, why couldn't I make a decision? What's wrong with me? I should have made a decision. Like, I can't do this. This is too much. It's always pressure. So there's constantly motion going around in the body. There's constantly something happening in the mind. And for some people, it gets so overwhelming that they shut down. Okay? And that's what we don't want. We don't want you to just close up like inside of a cocoon, like a hermit crab or turtle or tortoise, whatever reference you want to use. We don't want you to close down, because then no decision is ever made, and the lack of a decision or the avoidance of a decision then becomes your decision. And a lot of times for many people, that lack of decision affects them even worse than making an actual decision. Okay, so what are some things we can do to improve that decision-making process so that anxiety does not take over? All right, step one. Have you noticed that I've been talking really fast and I move when I talk, like when I'm up? So the first things first is to slow down. Simple, right? So here's how you do this. Here first, you're going to want to kind of find your center, okay? I use kind of this area for me to tell when I'm tight, when I'm loose, and then the back of me right here. So that I know in my body when this part of me starts to feel tight, on the back of my neck, okay? When this part of me starts to feel like really tight, then I know I begin to move my shoulders, kind of rotate my head, maybe all around. Got this head wrap, so it's hard to move to the back, okay? But I'll do something to try to physically loosen it up, okay? For my younger kids, I tell them to like release the wiggly jigglies, like shake it out, okay? Here, I control my breathing. So I breathe from my diaphragm, which is something that's really simple and easy to do. So before I get ready to approach the decision-making process or make a decision, I'm going to take a deep breath, but I'm going to make sure I pull air in so that this part of my belly is inflating, and I'm going to push air out, which means I'm going to actually press on my belly so that when I breathe out, this part is deflating. Think of a balloon. Imagine there's a balloon in your stomach. You need to fill it up, but you also need to let it go to where the balloon is like completely flat, okay? So let's try it. In, out. Good. And so for me, I can tell when I breathe in, my muscles get tighter right here. My stomach becomes a little more firmer, okay? And when I breathe out, it softens more, okay? So I want you to do that, pressing in when you breathe in and releasing the pressure on your belly so that you can breathe out, okay? We are all wearing masks, and normally I have one in the kitchen, but I don't know where they are right now. So what I suggest that when you're practicing breathing, clean mask, okay, that you put the mask not necessarily on your face, but hold it in front of your face. So I'm kind of like this far from my face, if y'all can see, so that I can have my breath when I'm breathing in and when I'm breathing out. I can make the mask move, okay? You can also do this with a tissue, maybe a paper towel. So I haven't tried it with a paper towel, but definitely a tissue. So then that way you can measure how well or how much air you're pulling in and pulling out. Obviously, we don't want the tissue to, suck up into your mouth. So I'm gonna get a tissue actually, and we're gonna try this. Okay, got my tissue. So I'm gonna breathe in. I'm still using my belly, but my hands are just gonna be using my tissue, okay? So as I breathe in, see if you can see it move. And out. In and out. All right, so not so much in, but you could see how the tissue moves when I breathe out. And if my goal is to try to get to where I breathe out and the tissue comes like kind of like up almost to where it's like that, then that gives you a method of measurement to be able to measure how well you're breathing in and out. Okay, not quite there yet for me. And this is not something that you have to do all the time. Set your goal, go at the pace that you want. But before you get ready to make a decision, first step is to breathe. Get in control of your breathing, okay? That's step number one. Step number two in trying to decrease your anxiety when making decisions, okay? Use paper. I'm so old school, y'all. I really am. Use paper, okay? Now, if you've got to get electronic, I have notes, apps and stuff like that. I use the Keep Notes that's connected with Google to be able to kind of like make my list and kind of help me, narrow things down, especially when I'm online shopping, because I find that the more specific my list is, okay, and I can do that at my own pace. I don't have to be in the store trying to make my list. I'm gonna do that when I'm at home, really, or at my office before I go to the store, because then I control